to continue with chapter 3. I hope that can still remember what we have learned in chapter 2. Okay, so today we're going to continue with chapter 3, which is the static of rigid bodies. Okay, before this we learn about particles. So what is the difference between particles and body? Particle we just consider it is just a point, but for body we consider the shape and also the size. Okay, so these are the learning outcome. We have the fundamentals to understand about rigid body. You need to understand what is principle of transmissibility. Earlier in chapter 1, we have an introduction about principle of transmissibility. Okay, does anybody here remember what is the transmissibility? Anybody? Still remember about principle of transmissibility? Where is Nabil? Anybody? What do you remember about principle of transmissibility? You have a rigid body.
A force on the line of action.
Force.
Force that move anywhere along its line of action.
As long as it is within the same line of action, then what happens?
Without changing the external force.
So we can say that the equilibrium is still maintained, the magnitude of the force is still the same, as long as it is within the same line of action, although it is in different point. Okay, so basically that is the principle of transmissibility. I think, yeah. Okay, so for example, if I move the force at the front of the truck to the back, it will have the same magnitude. Let's say if the force is 20 kilonewton, so wait, somebody is, okay, ada yang nak join, sorry. Okay, alright. Okay, let's see if I move the force at the front of the truck to the back. So as long as it is within the same line of action, so the magnitude is still maintained lah, sama, right? So that is the principle of transmissibility. So before we, in the principle of transmissibility tu nanti, actually it's a fundamental for the rigid bodies lah, okay? Dalam ni nanti we have the vector product. Okay, before we learn about moment. Okay, moment, as I told you in the first class, moment is very important because you're going to use this equation to solve most of the problem dalam static. Right, sampai chapter 7, 6, 7, you still have to use moment. Okay, so before we learn about moment, we need to know vector product first. Right, then we learn about moment of force about a point. Okay, dia ada about a line, tapi we discuss only force about a point. And then what is Verignan theorem? Remember, we have a question related to theory. Although we don't have final, but we still have question in your test related to theory. So you need to know what is Verignan theorem. Actually, Verignan theorem you can represent by an equation. So although you cannot explain in a paragraph, you still can write the equation to represent what is Verignan theorem. Okay, later on we're going to see what is Varrock-Gardner theorem. But I don't think that we managed to discuss for today. Okay, kita mungkin probably manage to discuss about vector product and also moment of force about point. Okay, so after we learn about Varrock-Gardner theorem, we're going to use the concept in a moment of couple. Okay, last kita akan belajar finding the resultant of force. Remember, resultant of force is just the same thing what we have learned in chapter 2. We find the summation of fx component, fy component, and then find the resultant. Okay, and then couple system means that we couple with the moment. So for your problem nanti tak apa, if even though you don't understand right now, because this is just an introduction what you will learn today, not today, for this chapter. Nanti kita akan tengoklah the example to see what does it mean by resultant of force and couple system. Okay, then right, what you learn in 3.1 is a basic, and also it is in non-equilibrium condition. Okay, non-equilibrium condition means that the net or the resultant force or the moment is not equal to 0. But in 3.2 you're going to learn about equilibriums. So equilibrium, we know that kalau equilibriums ni apa maksudnya? Tadi saya cakap non-equilibrium kan. So for equilibrium condition, what does it mean?
All force is the same.
Yeah, you will have the resultant force is equal to 0. It means fx equal to 0, fy equal to 0, and if it is in 3D, fz is also equal to 0. But for rigid body, remember we have moment. Okay, moment so also equal to 0. Dia berbeza with chapter 2. Chapter 2 we only talk about particle, jadi we don't bother about moment. But for rigid bodies, we consider moment. So when we talk about equilibrium, it's not only the resultant must be equal to 0, the resultant of force equal to 0, the moment also equal to 0. Okay, nanti saya conteng lah. Right, then 3.3 also the same, equilibrium of 2 force and 3 force body, but actually this is a simplified manner. Right, sama je. Tapi kita tengok nanti kita boleh simplifiedkan the condition into 2 force and 3 force, because most problem is not limited to 1 force, dia ada more than 2 or 3. So and for problem yang kita tengok, tak semestinya dia cuma melibatkan only 1 bar. Okay, dia boleh ada cantum banyak-banyak, and then you imagine about machine, right? You imagine about machine you have many parts. So we can simplify that part into 2 force or 3 force body. Itu kita boleh tengok lah. Right, so basically that's the introduction. Okay, and then for this slide, principle of transmissibility, just now we have review back what is the principle of transmissibility, and then we should know that we have the external and internal force. So external forces is straightforward. Yang you nampak lah, yang it's not yang you nampak directly, macam like the support from what we call support daripada surface, daripada jalan towards the tire of the truck ni, kita kata this is the external forces lah, yang you tarik ni external forces. Internal forces is when you dismember ataupun you tanggalkan dia. So it's straightforward. Internal forces, right? Kalau dia tengok definition dia, which hold together the particle forming the rigid body. So it means kalau kita remove the part by part ni, we can see the internal force. Bila kita potong, bila kita dismember, bila kita tanggalkan dia, then you can see the internal force. Okay, that's a very straightforward lah. Right. Okay, again, principle of transmissibility, we have see this, we have discussed this. Ni sama tadi pun I have mentioned that if we move the force to the back of the truck, so you get the same magnitude. Okay, alright. Okay, so far do you have any question? Ada? Ada soalan? Faham tak? Limited ni. Saya tak boleh nak, saya try nanti saya akan conteng jugalah dalam paint. But I do my best to draw sebaik mungkin lah. Ada soalan tak? Ada soalan? Ada orang? Tak ada orang ni?
Tak ada.
Tak ada. Tak ada, okay. Alright, okay. Right, so now we know that principle of transmissibility is important. Moment is also important. So how to know about moment? So basically dia punya concept is, you can see that concept of the moment of a force about a point, we can understand by the cross product or what we call as a vector product. Okay, so for example, we have two vector. We have, did you see an arrow dekat slide tu? Ada nampak arrow tak? Ada tak? Ada nampak arrow ke?
Ada nampak cursor.
Okay lah, so you can see the movement lah. Alright, so for vector product or cross product, okay, let's say we have two vector within one plane here. So dari satu plane, right, we have two vector. So these two vector lies at the same plane. Dia duduk dalam plane yang sama lah. So we have P, we have Q, right. So the product, the cross product between P and Q, you will get V, right. So yang ni V is equal to P cross Q. So P cross Q will get V, but if you have Q cross P, you will not get V, but instead you will get negative V. So the direction will be inverse with the one that we have here. Faham tak apa maksud saya? Kalau P cross Q, sekejap saya try conteng. Okay, so we have, macam mana saya nak conteng ni?
Kena tekan draw tadi, medium.
Oh ya ke? Edit, draw, oh ya, okay, pandai lah. Alright, how to remove this one? How to move this? Mana saya nak removekan dia ni? Pening pula saya. Wait, let's, okay. Siapa yang baru masuk ni? Siapa yang baru masuk ni? Orang dah tak kelas dah. Okay, just now we have, tadi kita ada, we have, nampak ke? Saya draw?
Nampak.
Okay, we have V, then we have Q. Okay, this is the data, right? And P and Q, it is within the same plane lah, right? Ni adalah V. So if we cross product between P and Q, okay, you will get V. So we have to use the right hand rule. Right hand rule ni macam mana saya nak dikeluarkan saya punya, okay. Did you see me? Nampak tak? Saya? Then nak tunjuk. We going to use right hand rule. Sebab kalau right hand rule, tadi kita ada dia P cross Q, so dia akan ke atas lah. Tak apa, kalau tak boleh tak imagine tangan saya, ni tangan kanan saya. Kalau you cannot imagine, nanti saya akan tunjukkan lagi. Cuma sekarang ni currently